In early modern Britain, relationships influenced what people said and did, and helped people make meaning from others' speech and actions. As the great political theorist Hannah Arendt wrote in her 1958 book The Human Condition, the disclosure of the who through speech and the setting of a new beginning through action always fall into an already existing web where their immediate consequences can be felt. I'm Chris Warren, co-founder of the 6 Degrees of Francis Bacon Project, which is a collaborative reconstruction of the social network of early modern Britain between 1500 and 1700. Maybe you're a student curious about the English Reformation or Elizabethan theatre. Maybe you're an amateur British history buff fascinated by Britain's civil wars or the Royal Society. Or maybe you're a scholar following your own research trail. In this video, I want to show you how you can use 6 Degrees of Francis Bacon to study the context of early modern speech and action. When I was in graduate school, I was creating network maps by hand. Now, new technologies and participatory communities are making it possible to reconstruct early modern networks at unprecedented scales. 6 Degrees of Francis Bacon currently includes over 13,000 people and nearly 200,000 relationships, all mined from the gold standard of British history, the Oxford Dictionary of National Biography. As you'll see, it's a far cry from my grad school notes, and it's designed to grow even richer over time with the contributions of scholars, students, and citizen humanists like you. Let me show you some of the payoffs of using 6 Degrees of Francis Bacon, and then some of the basics of how to use the site. The student of the English Reformation can see at a glance people closest to famous writers like Sir Thomas More, but also, in writers' second-degree connections in gray, those who made up those writers' wider publics, understood in Michael Warner's sense as the group of strangers potentially organized into relation by speech or writing. We can also get a richer understanding of the period by exploring the networks of lesser-known Reformation figures, like the businesswoman, writer, and Protestant exile Rose Throckmorton, who challenges many masculinist assumptions about early modern women's activities. Of Shakespeare and theater studies, the critic Adam Gopnik has recently written, "We live in an Elizabethan world of our own reductive devising, populated by the Queen and Ben Jonson and the Dark Lady and the Bard, and a theater full of groundlings. But the real Elizabethan world had a lot more people in it than that." 6 Degrees indeed details how Shakespeare, like all of his contemporaries, was embedded in meaningful networks. But we can decenter him if we wish. The networks of the actor Richard Burbage or the theater builder Peter Street represent valuable alternative ways of understanding Elizabethan theatrical history. 6 Degrees also assists researchers in seeing beyond unnecessary disciplinary blinders. Milton, the poet of Paradise Lost, might seem to belong to literary history, while George Fox, the founder of the Quakers, belongs to a separate history of religious dissent. But a search of their overlapping networks shows just how flimsy such distinctions can be. So too in the so-called history of science. The network of Royal Society Secretary Henry Oldenburg affords a critical window in the sociology of the scientific revolution. But figures like Milton and Jacob Abendana, the leader of London's Sephardic Jewish community, introduce less familiar pathways and new questions about the roles of art, politics, and religion in the history of science. Now for some of the basics of how to explore, query, and contribute to the site. First, visualization. The initial view is a broad overview. The name you search for is bigger than all the others, and it is labeled. You can see other names by moving your mouse over nodes. By default, 6 Degrees shows 2 degrees of separation. Think friends and friends of friends. You can tell the difference between first and second degree relationships because the first degree relationships are brightly colored. The second degree relationships are gray. Now let's zoom in. There are 2 ways to do so. You can use your mouse's scroll wheel or a laptop trackpad, or you can go to the upper right-hand corner and click the magnifying glass with the plus sign. Clicking and holding allows you to drag areas of interest to the center. Once you've done so, you can see just the first degree relationships of the node you search for by double-clicking it. A single click again will bring you back to the wider 2 degree view. Let's double-click again. Colors of nodes indicate known connections at or above the present confidence threshold. A legend can be found by clicking the paint drop on the right-hand side. The most prominent nodes, the ones with the most connections and the names even non-experts recognize, appear in dark blue, while people who have fewer connections appear in red. The sidebar is one of 2 other main areas of interaction. The sidebar serves several functions, but for now I want to focus on the Search and Person tabs. The Person tab is where you see some basic information when you select a node. This is where you'll see birth and death dates, historical significance, known groups to which the person belonged, and direct links to ODNB bios, which open in new windows. You also have quick links to places where you can flesh out relationships and group memberships. Searching can be done in several ways. The most basic search is a network search. Typing a name like John Milton prompts an autocomplete function, bringing up possible names. Below the name field is the relationship confidence slider. Initial confidences have been generated with statistical analysis of the ODNB. They'll rise and fall over time with user input, one of the many reasons to contribute to 6 degrees. The default confidence is set to 60%, meaning you'll see likely to certain relationships. You can change it on the slider. A lower confidence setting will give you less definitive information, but more suggestive possibilities. I think of the confidence slider as a kind of possibility machine. One thing to keep in mind is that things can get messy quite quickly, so we limit the visualizations to 100 relationships. This means that searching, say, for a very prominent person at a low confidence estimate may require showing you a list of data rather than a network hairball. Scholars often wonder about mutual acquaintances, and a shared network search can show you those. A shared network search for two figures rarely considered together, say Milton and Newton, shows you that their networks intersect considerably. A lower confidence threshold opens even more possible shared connections. As users flesh out group memberships, the group and shared groups searches will become more useful. We'll be able to see, for example, all members of the Virginia Company, or everyone tagged as a parliamentarian. A shared group search could return everyone who is both a member of the Virginia Company and a parliamentarian. Lastly, I want to turn to the header bar. The first thing you'll want to do is create an account. Important features like contributing and downloading data are only available if you've signed in. I'll show how to contribute what you know in a separate video. The View Records dropdown lets you explore data in list form and offers further ways to make contributions. You can get help, check out our blog, and give us feedback through the provided links. All contributions are checked by community members who've already made valuable contributions. Curators can go to the dashboard to see unapproved contributions and see the nodes and relationships currently generating activity. Okay, so that's it. What now? Why not create an account and start by searching for someone who lived in Britain between 1500 and 1700? Then, see what you can add.